Okay, so you want to build a new habit or you need to get done something that you've been putting off for so long, but rewards like getting yourself a matcha or buying a new thing or allowing yourself to watch your favorite show don't motivate you. So in my case, anything that is possible with or without doing the task that I typically avoid is not rewarding. Among all of the reasons, the biggest one is that there is no cause and effect relationship between the task and the reward itself. Meaning, doing the difficult task doesn't have any actual impact on the reward. Therefore, my brain will resent the task that I have to do or that I want to do even more. So as I'm reading the book Atomic Habits, although I'm just halfway through the book, but I realized that there are so many things that just do not work for me. And I know because I've tried it so many times, there are like many things that people already know. I think that my brain just works differently. The book is still worth reading, don't get me wrong. Even when there are many things that are not applicable for me, this book helps me realize so many things about myself. And I usually discuss those things with ChatGPT. It helps me navigate through my thoughts much more clearly. And after a minute of talking about this specific issue, I realized that the thing that I crave the most when I accomplish something that I've been putting off for long is talking to somebody about it. So sharing is the most rewarding thing for me, and that's also when I feel the dopamine peak. However, it also has to be a person that I feel deeply connected to, or somebody that shares my energy of that accomplishment. So it's usually somebody like my mom, dad, or my friend, like very close people. So somebody that doesn't devaluate the accomplishment, even if it's something small. And the cause and effect part, well, if I don't do the task, I have literally nothing to share. If I don't do the task, I don't get the reward that I crave. The only way is to get that damn thing done. On the other hand, I can still buy myself a matcha or play a game, watch my favorite show, whatever. So the crucial part is whether that reward is possible to get access to without doing the task. And I realized that I'm the kind of person who gets motivated by the connection with other people rather than the pure achievement. And maybe this is your case as well. So for my brain, the ability to share something meaningful plays a big role in how my brain registers a reward. I get the dopamine hit not just from the success itself, but also from the moment of sharing it with somebody that I love. There's also a problem when I don't have the right person to talk to. So I realized one thing. I've been trying to implement journaling into my daily routine for quite some time, and it didn't go very well. So the problem is that it worked for the first few months of this year, but then I stopped. Then I tried again and didn't stick to it, so I stopped again. I thought that the problem is that I just can't build this new habit, or I don't know, that maybe it doesn't feel right for me now. But then I also realized that when I have something very meaningful, something that I'm so excited about, and I don't have a person to share it with, I just reach out for my journal and just write it down, because this gives me a very similar dopamine hit as from sharing it with a real person. And it's also really great when you go back several pages and you read about the things that excited you several days, weeks, or months ago. And also, as I was thinking about this reward issue, I talked to ChatGPT, and it suggested that I journal about my accomplishments, since it is kind of connected with the feeling of sharing it with somebody else. So that's why I realized, oh my god, so this is the reason why I couldn't stick to journaling, because yes, for the first few months of this year, I was very consistent with all of the new habits that I had. I was so proud of sharing certain things, but the moment I slowed down, my desire for sharing started disappearing. I used to journal every single day when there was something to write about, but whenever I felt sluggish or out of the rhythm, I just stopped. So basically, I don't really start a task just because of the logic or discipline. The first thing that is really helpful and very motivating for me is urgency. Like when it's really urgent, like almost impossible to get done. That's when I start, or because of the joy of sharing, as for somebody that is connection-driven person. So now there is a question, how do I make this my trigger so that I actually start doing the things that I want or need to get done? I create the craving to share before I do anything else, so it becomes the cue and not the reward. And surprisingly, I've been doing many of these things subconsciously, so now I'm just trying to bring it into my awareness so that I do it more intentionally. So the first one that I've been doing for so long is that I imagine talking or sharing the news or the update with a specific person later, especially if I'm going to talk to that person later anyway. So this creates an expectation that I want to fulfill. And this is usually my mom or my grandma. I talk to them on the phone a lot. So I make a plan of calling them later that day, and I just ask myself, what am I going to share with them about my day or about my week? Something that I can be proud of, something that makes me feel like I was productive and that I actually have something to share, because when you talk to somebody, you don't want to be, silent. So this is something that usually motivates me, but I've been using it just here and there because I didn't realize that it actually helps me to get started. And the second thing is when I talk to somebody, usually my mom, because she's the one who's going to ask about it later, is that when I talk to her, I just casually mention something that I need to get done, something that really annoys me, something that I really don't want to do and takes me a lot of time. So those things are usually sending an email. I don't know, I just struggle with it a lot. And many other things that are just too boring. It doesn't feel like much for many people, but for me, sending a message or email to somebody other than my family, I don't know, it just takes a lot of time for me to get actually started. Yeah, this is something I struggle with. So if I need to get done something like this, I just call my mom, I talk to her about different things, and I just casually mention this information that I have to do this and that. She asks me about it later, and I'm just like, oh, if I didn't do it, I feel really bad. And this is something that can be actually done through journaling as well. So, for example, you can journal about your plans for the day or the day after, and you just leave it unfinished so that you have to come back at the end of the day and report on that. And I was actually doing this when I was like first months into journaling, and I was very consistent with it. I used to journal usually in the morning, but sometimes it was in the evening. So if I was journaling in the morning, I usually just wrote my plans for that day. Then the next day, I wanted to report on like how I felt. Okay, so the next one is something that I've already touched, and that is accountability partner or body doubling. And I know I've heard it so many times on the internet, especially from ADHD folks, and I was like, this can't help. And I've tried it, and it really helped. It motivated me to get done things that I avoided for weeks, okay? So it really does help, and it's worth trying. If you have somebody that you can be in the same room doing the similar task, that is very efficient. But what you can also do is, again, be on a phone with another person. Start doing similar tasks together. I usually call my mom. We tend to do those tasks usually the same day of the week. So I usually call her and we're on the phone. We're not talking too much, but we just know that both of us are doing something that we do not really enjoy, and it's kind of motivating. So definitely give it a try. Okay, and the last one is also my favorite one, and it's exaggerating about your new desired identity. So hear me out, okay? The identity is very closely intertwined with your daily habits. Based on the habits that we have, we tend to shape the identity, or at least it feels like it. But in reality, we usually exaggerate things that happened only once or maybe just a few times. We exaggerate the lack of experience. For example, you try something new, like playing the guitar for the very first time, and your identity up to that was like, okay, I've never tried it, but I would love to, which is very neutral, right? but then you give it a try. It's hard, okay, but it's just the beginning, so you don't really care. But after the initial excitement wears off, you start questioning yourself. Something like, I'm not really good at this. This is too hard for me. And you create a new identity even before you gave yourself the chance to actually prove yourself you can do it. And this is actually the reason why we fail so often when we're trying to build a new habit or trying something new. This is very similar with languages, for example. So you failed learning the language in school because the system doesn't really work, or at least it doesn't work for everybody. And then you claim your whole life, I'm not good at languages. You are. You can be. You can try different strategies, you can try different methods. It's just that you tried just one system, one method that didn't work out, and this is why you create the identity you're not good at languages. But it's never true. Everybody can learn a different language. And I realized I've been doing this for quite some time, even without realizing how powerful it can actually be. The first time this year it happened was when I told myself I'm going to walk every single day, at least like 4 or 5 kilometers. So I decided I would go for walks as frequently as possible. And at first it was very easy for me to stick to this new habit because it was very exciting. I was hungry for sunlight, especially after the depressing winter. So I was very consistent. And after just a few days, I started bragging, right? I called my mom, I called my dad, I told my friend, I told my partner, and I was like, yeah, I go for walks every single day. And I was really proud of that. In the beginning, it honestly felt like more than it actually was. And I wrote it proudly into my journal. Then I counted how many days I had, and I was like, oh my God, it's been just 5 days? It felt like 2 weeks. So I continued because now I was that person who goes for walks every single day. And also I told so many people, so like skipping a day would actually feel like going against the new identity I had created. So 2 things happened. The first one is that I created a new identity based on exaggerating something that I've been doing just few days in a row. And also I took pride in it. Taking pride in anything you do is so crucial for building new habits or creating your identity. And you can take pride in both bad and good things. So saying something like, oh, this is something I'm not good at, like languages, sports, art, whatever, becomes something you're weirdly proud of. And actually this idea of taking pride in your habits and identity is something that I learned from the book Atomic Habits. James Clear explains very well why pride matters and how it reinforces your identity. It's one of the insights from the book that helped me to understand myself better and how my brain works. What I also love about this book is that it makes me genuinely curious about myself. Actually, everything that I talked about in this video is something that I realized only after started reading this book, so I really do recommend it. And if you feel the same way, please let me know in the comments below, because it took me quite some time to realize that such a small thing can have such a big impact. So if you relate in any way, feel free to share it below. I'm genuinely curious how many of you experience something similar, and I'm very happy to be back. It feels really good to create again, and you can definitely expect more videos coming soon. So see you in the next one. Bye bye. And guess what I'm about to do now? Yeah, obviously, call my mom. So bye bye.